Hi, I'm Sug.
I'm Dan.
This is the Demystified Zone, an unauthorized North Korean podcast. All right, Dan. Hey, I've got a question for you today.
All right.
Start things off. You ever been to a family reunion? I'm going to start with the top level. Have you been to a family reunion?
Yes.
Okay. Have you been to a family reunion that's been more special than the other family reunion?
Yeah, I mean, after COVID, man, I think it takes a little bit more of importance, and it's a little bit more memorable.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, okay, describe to our listeners out there, what was your first family reunion post-COVID quarantine?
Yeah. So we had one during the quarantine because my uncle died.
Ooh,
So,
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yeah. So he died not of COVID, but and so that was like the last time we saw each other. So whenever we haven't actually had a large family reunion, but a lot of smaller ones.
Okay.
So every interaction I have with my extended family in that regard is special.
So like in this last one with the passing of your uncle, was that an exceptionally large reunion?
No, it was very small because of COVID. So none of our kids came. It was just the adults and spouses. A lot of spouses didn't come, understandably, because of COVID.
Sure. How was it emotionally? Was it like extra special because you guys miss each other, or do you feel like the moment where like, this is a rare moment?
I just felt like cheated that we didn't really get to properly, not that I was cheated, but like my uncle was cheated. Almost like we didn't get to send. I don't know what the right word is. Send off is not the right word, but there wasn't a proper, event that marked the end of his life that really gave meaning to that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it was sad.
It's also unfortunate that you just brought down the whole mood of the podcast completely. I thought it was going to be pretty lighthearted and like a positive. Oh, yeah, we met each other. We hugged. Thanks, Dan.
Death, COVID.
You just derailed me
sadness,
again.
Yeah, sorry.
It's just gift on this podcast. But I appreciate you either way.
Thank you.
Mike's got a headline up that something that came into our kind of prep meeting that we want to talk about today is this idea of reunification.
Yeah.
And this is a big topic in general.
It's a hot topic, another hot topic.
Yeah, we only got the hot stuff here. We only have hot sauce, one level hot sauce, supreme hot. But because it's such a big topic to chew on, I'm going to focus down on family reunification. That's why I asked that very pertinent question. You like that?
I like that.
So North and South Korea obviously were split many years ago.
Yeah.
When that happened, many families, for those who don't know, North Korea and South Korea are split like between the two biggest cities. That's what the DMZ title of our show is based on. And it just split our countries into, but the capitals for each are right on, like, how far did you say apart they are?
Like 50 miles, I think.
50 miles.
From the demilitarized zone.
50 miles. That's like shorter than from here to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So obviously because that happened, and such a stark literal wall was put up between the two countries, like families got separated.
Right.
And that was back in the 50s. So you can imagine the effort. Yeah, if your family lived in Colorado and you lived in Illinois, you guys aren't seeing each other anymore.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So that's what we want to talk about today. I've got this article up. It was from the BBC back in 2018. And they just reported this whole reunifying families event. So I'm just going to give you some hot takes here. So like there are, over the past 18 years, reportedly, and again, fill in where you have knowledge, Dan, there have been about 20 events where North Korea and South Korea will get together. They'll say, hey, let's let these families see each other again.
Yeah.
And then often, from what I understand, at least in this article, and if you want a link to the article, we'll provide that later somewhere. Mike will do his magic. It'll appear somewhere. Just,
Mike's back, everyone.
Mike's here, guys. Yeah. We've fired the last audio engineer. She was too inexperienced, didn't have the experience we wanted. And
it was a really bad ending.
Yeah. We just
ugly.
Not going to work out for us. Okay, guys. Yeah. Anyway, look for the link. It's a story about this happening in 2018 where 83 North Koreans and 89 South Koreans took part in a reunification. They basically bust these South Koreans up to like a resort in North Korea, which was heavily guarded, heavily monitored, as expected, to have this really sweet moment where they can like reunify with their families. And this is not the first time, apparently.
These have been happening over the years. Yeah. These reunifications, because it's like a complete blackout, right? You can't send a letter, even you can't call, obviously. So it's
why can't you call? Or I understand the letter is going to get intercepted. What's the phone system like in North Korea? And like, is there like
it's a
I imagine like one of those like old phone circuit boards, but they got operators like pulling out the cables and plugging in. They're like, "Hang on, wait, let me get the other person."
Yeah, I need an outside line. No, it's there's no outside line, so it's completely enclosed. You can't get in from the outside. So it's funny, like Skype now is kind of like an old thing, I think. When I first started using Skype, and that was like the best service to use for international calls.
Yeah.
And they have a list of all of the country and country codes.
Yeah.
North Korea was in there.
Really? Like early on? Or still
I think
now?
It's still in there.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there are some North Korean phone numbers that are connected to the wider world.
Okay.
But anyway, but you can't dial Joe Schmo in North Korea, just average Joe citizen in North Korea, because of they're cut off the system, and the internet is like that as well. It's just a completely enclosed system.
I don't know how basic phone technology works.
It's just wires, man.
I know, but like, how am I able to call Europe? I don't even know. How do I call Europe? How do our wires? Is there a wire? It's radio, right? I think it's radio.
No, it's wires.
No, is there a wire going from here to Europe right now?
There's a transatlantic.
No, shut up.
Literally.
Am I being stupid? Am I?
Even the internet's like that.
Oh my god. Okay. Either way, I'm not gonna touch this anymore. I feel like I'm digging my stupid hole right now.
Yeah, you are.
But okay. So North Korea has put up a physical block on telephone calls. Going back to the family, so like, there's nothing then. No calls, no letters. Obviously, that are coming through. No emails because they're cut off. Mm-hmm. So if your families got separated, which I think I know a few families personally too that have families that were in North Korea when the split happened, and you didn't make it to the South, and it's just been a rift basically.
Yes.
So this event happened. I'm just going to drop some quick details. So, like I said, the South Koreans were bussed over by heavily guarded border patrol or North Korean guard to Mount Kumgang Tourist Resort.
Yeah.
And then they spent 3 days in North Korea to be with their relatives, but only for a few hours. So in total, even though they're up there for 3 days, they were only there for 11 hours. And obviously, when they were in the same rooms together, they're like really heavily supervised.
Yeah.
And if you look at these photos up here, so like if you scroll through those, like a lot of the photography, like if you notice, what do you notice that's the same amongst all these people?
They're all very old.
Yes, they are incredibly old. In fact, they said one of the oldest reunions was between a 90-some-year-old with her two siblings from South Korea who were in their 80s, and I think the younger one was 79. So all these photos, look at this. This is incredible.
It always makes me cry.
They're really, really old people who lived through the Korean War for sure.
Yeah.
And
it's so a lot of these stories are like families in the North who are like, okay, I'm going to go down to the South and get some medicine and I'll be right up. And then the wall came up. You know, they didn't like get to say goodbye even. Right?
Yes.
Or I'm going to go first and then you guys come like 2 weeks later for some tactical reason or some reason, right?
Yeah.
And then the wall went up. And it's all of these stories are like that. It's it's so tragic. They all expected to see one another again. You couldn't, right? Could you even imagine, even if there was a threat of that happening, I just wouldn't believe it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's similar to like that feeling of like, I don't know, I don't know this personally, but I imagine it's similar of like, you know, you go out for groceries and you get arrested, you go to jail,
right?
But then it's forever, you know. But even in that situation, you can see them in jail. It's like, I think what makes this so,
or get letters,
exactly, or there's some sort of community. But like, what's so painful is that like if it was death, you know, you can reconcile that. But this is like they're there, they know they're
and they're so close too.
They're so close. They're there. There's no way to contact them. There's no way to do anything. So that's intense.
It's crazy. It's my example to bring the mood down again.
Do it. That's your gift.
Back to COVID, right? Like we couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
Right? We couldn't imagine a situation like COVID happening. We talked about it. Like we all that week we all like, you know, sort of conceptually said, okay, this might happen, but when it did happen, it was like
that's a great example, right? That was like the most comparable thing for us as Americans to have those who abided by the rules of like the pods. That you can't go to see your family right now because you're at risk of hurting one another if you do.
Imagine if COVID was like this wall. Right.
Exactly. And COVID found out how to hack our internet system and phone lines so that we couldn't talk to each other. And intercept the USPS system. That would be a scary COVID. That's the next variant that's coming out. It's gonna be sentient. It's gonna be.
I believe it.
COVID AI. At this point. Oh my God. So this story really sad and happy too. Like I'm actually like, it was like you look at these pictures, they're all crying and they're like weeping. If you know Koreans, we love to cry and weep deeply.
But it's like, but even with that, right? Like those are very rare occasions, right? I think I've seen my dad cry once.
Yeah. True.
And in keeping with that tradition, my kids have never seen me cry.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to keep that streak alive. But I mean, you just never, although we do love emotional things. Yeah. I just haven't personally witnessed that, you know, as a Korean American with first generation immigrant parents. It's hard to see that. And that's what makes these pictures all the more dramatic.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like it's interesting. This is one of those things that's just very specific to Koreans and their culture. Yeah. Like, I'm sure there's other instances in the world in history of this, but like modern times of the world we live in where there's so much access to communication and data anywhere. Yeah. That this is actually happening where like you could have family members just out of reach, but you know and actually you don't know they're alive sometimes, right? And actually this article kind of points to that. Like there was a quote here of one of the South Korean members that said, in translation here, I never imagined this day would come and I'd even know if he, referring to his relative, was alive or not. Yeah. Which is like, one, it's like, it's two-sided, right? It sounds like the most terrible thing in the world I just read. But then it's also like amazing. Like he got to see him. Yeah. He got to see I think in this case it was a cousin. That's amazing. Like, that's so cool. And probably for the last time.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Because certainly if this happened once, it's never going to happen again, right? Because there's so many other families waiting or wondering whether this can happen or not. And the political situation, whenever there's any sort of animosity again towards the North and South, or between the North and South, this is the first thing to go.
Yeah.
This is always the first thing to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really highlighted here, but there's a lot of undertones and kind of another story of like how obviously, I don't know if it's obvious, but North Korea holds the keys here about letting this busload of South Koreans come in to visit and reunify.
Sure.
And there's another link, you guys can check it out. There was a moment in with Moon Jae-in, I think was the last president or current president, where he met with Kim Jong-un to reopen this kind of tradition where they would do this more frequently.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of political undertones there and maneuvering in allowing this. Am I right, wrong, or just crazy?
It's, to date myself even more, it's like I use Skype as an example. Here's another old internet example. Facebook. The relationship status. It's complicated. Remember that?
Yeah, but
that's not old?
That's still. I think that's still relevant.
Thank you. So yeah, it's very complicated, right? This marriage or relationship between the North and South, and there's so many emotions behind it. It's unfortunately these families get lost in the mix of all of the negotiations.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
And something that was not necessarily interesting, but just made me laugh because it hit me in a certain way, was that the report says like many brought gifts like clothes, medicine, and food, which just sound like funny gifts to me, but not funny because I understand the context. Like North Korea is obviously very impoverished, so they want to bring them those things. But just like reminds me of like when my mom used to go to Korea and she'd bring like 2 suitcases of Snickers in there. Because they just didn't have Snickers in Korea.
Marlboro cigarettes.
Marlboro cigarettes, yes. Yeah. All the American things that you just couldn't have. Actually, they did have access in Korea. It's just they brought them maybe a better price. They thought this was a better price to pay for the the carry-on fee versus the expense of import tax in Korea.
Yes.
But there's
always, you always come bearing gifts with Korean families. Yeah. For sure.
And it must have felt so sweet and nice to like be able to give something to them, right? That's like a big part of our culture, right? Like you said, giving something. So like that they had the opportunity to do that. That's not nice touch there. Made me smile.
Yeah, it's like so in Korean culture, just to educate our audience a little bit for the non-Korean.
Yes, please.
When you visit a house for dinner, a box of Asian pears, huge.
Don't ask why they're called Asian or Korean pears. They're just self-proclaimed those.
Oh, really? Oh.
I don't know. What makes them Asian?
No, they are a different breed. You know,
sure.
the round pears.
But why are they called Asian?
Because they originated in Asia, I think.
What part of Asia? Asia's a big place. What is it? We know what we really mean. We mean Korean pears.
Yeah, amen.
If they came from Korea, then this is, let's give them a real name, not Korean pear.
Korean pear. I'm going to call them that.
No, let's call them like today. Super juicy pears.
Oh, they are very delicious.
They are juicy. They're delicious.
Okay. If the house that you're visiting, if it's like a newly purchased house, then you bring detergent, paper towels, or toilet paper. Like a huge thing of it.
Yes.
These are the rules here.
Yes. And I have received those things.
Yeah, exactly.
When I moved, I received toilet paper.
Oh man, I moved last year. I had so much detergent.
It's very practical. It's nice.
Yeah.
I never got detergent. That's kind of weird.
I got detergent.
Well, you have a lot of kids too, so you need a lot of detergent. You go through a lot of laundry loads. Kids. Is it laundry detergent specifically?
Yeah, laundry detergent.
The bale.
The bale.
they're very important. Bale.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so gifts are really important. This whole thing, again, we're talking about reunification here. So it's like it only happens now once in a blue moon, it seems like.
Yeah.
why not? Why not more often? Like, this is like for both sides. Like, what? Yeah. Obviously, again, we're going to go back to the North Korea has very strict rules and laws, but why not keep this good thing going?
I think on North Korea, there's a little bit of, we bring this up a lot, but the shame factor, right? Like I'm sure the North Korean minders who are over the shoulder of these people who are having conversations, and the South Korean people who come in are instructed never to ask about living conditions, food situation, blah, blah, blah. Not that they would even talk about this because there's so much to catch up on, but I'm sure, that's why it takes place in North Korea alone.
Yes.
Right? North Korea would never allow them to cross into South Korea and to see the splendor that is Seoul right now, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of it has to do with Chengpi, right? Like they're kind of embarrassed at their lack of fortunes there.
Yeah.
Like my uncle, my uncle on my dad's side of the family, he married my dad's sister, so he's not a blood relative. He's from North Korea. He's a pastor there. He had a family of 4.
Okay.
In North Korea, and when the communists came in, they were going after pastors. So they hid my uncle under the floorboards, and it was a very dramatic thing where he had to escape in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And same thing, right? So my cousins now, who live all over the country, they're asking me, like, is there anything we can do? Because we know we have family in North Korea.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's nothing. Well, there are private arrangements that can be made in China.
Yeah.
Through like these brokers for an exorbitant amount of money. I can't arrange that.
Yeah, and so I looked this up a little bit, and to be honest, I didn't do a ton of digging, but I saw that there are some aid groups, like the Red Cross has like an aid group thing for this, but there's like a Skype thing where, going back to your Skype, thank you, Skype.
Thank you.
Please support us. We're doing a lot of drops for you. But there's a Skype thing where, like, a service where they try to connect people in North Korea.
That's cool.
I don't know how successful it is or how much access they have, but it does seem like there are groups out there that are trying to do it. At least, utilize technology to at least let people see each other. Again, who knows what it's like on the North Korean side, where we don't know how much they're going to allow or not allow. That being said, as always, we're always trying to problem solve problems in North Korea, which they have a lot of, but we're here to help. This podcast is here to help. And
always,
you know what? And we like to affirm that though we make jest of some of their crazy policies, in the end, this is our theme of like reunification. We do believe that reunification, one, could be possible, and 2, is necessary. Like, who wouldn't want to see more of these wonderful reunification stories, right? Of not just the old grandpas and grandmas, but like everyone who have like your family, right? And I think a lot of South Koreans, though I know it's a touchy subject in South Korea, that's another talk for another time. Yeah. But a lot would agree in general, at least on that point of like, let's reunify the families. Am I making the right assumption on that?
Yeah, I don't think anyone is anti-reunification of families. Yeah.
Okay, so here are my ideas to pitch. Again, we're always pitching Kim Jong-un. He's the man. KJU, if you're listening, here's my pitch, okay? More reunifications. Here's why. Reason 1. Okay, let the infrastructure, blue-collar workers from North Korea reunify with their families in exchange for building better infrastructure in your country. Something you need.
Yes.
You've said that publicly. You want better infrastructure. You're a little ashamed of it, actually. Yeah. Let us bring that awesome Seoul subway to Pyongyang and beyond. Just let them see their families.
Yeah, just let them see their family. And then they'll get to work.
And they'll get to work. And you know what? They'll teach your workers how to do all that stuff. Yeah. Don't kidnap them, though. That's always a caveat.
That's a caveat, yeah.
KJU, no kidnapping, please. All right? Okay. Number two, okay? Actually, number 2 and number 1 are kind of related. Just the PR of it.
Yeah.
The PR, like, look at this beautiful article. Like, this made me very emotional, like seeing the reunion and just like allowing that to happen. That's such great. Like you're already using lesser forms of emotional manipulation for your propaganda. Why don't you just use something really good, and still use it for the same propaganda?
Yeah.
Do whatever you want with it.
Both sides want it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another thing. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win-win, actually, because, anyway.
The optics of the outside world.
Yes. Everyone feel. I feel good. You feel good. We all feel good.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Are you hearing me, KJ? That's number 2. Number 3. Here comes number 3. Someone's going to come after me one day once this podcast is actually listened to. All right. And this is the big one. I think this is right up your alley here, okay? Hear me out.
Okay.
North Koreans in general, we love drama. We love that Korean drama. Oh. And even now, there are many South Korean dramas that talk about reunification or include that into their narratives and their movies and storylines. Mm-hmm. It's a big, powerful thing, and especially amongst Koreans. I'm going to up it up a notch here, okay, North Korea? A reality TV show where we unify the families. Think about that. We have this whole big episode. Every episode, you do little interviews, and it's like, mystery door, open up. Here's your family, and then, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
They actually have done that.
Reality TV show of reunification in North Korea?
Made by South Korean news organizations. Yeah. I don't understand all of the language, but I'm like crying through this whole show.
Wait, what is this show called?
I don't know. I don't know what the show. It's just like a news type of thing, right? It's an extension of the news. It's like a special report,
like a Vice special report kind of thing,
more like Dateline. Yeah.
Okay, but they're trying to reunify families.
No, they go along with these reunifications.
See, that's the difference.
I see.
We're going. That's journalism. We're going for entertainment here. Okay, we're reality. Like North Korea, you guys want the ball in the Korea court? Fine. Set up this reality TV show. You can even do twists. Be like, oh, that's not your family member. Find your family member, like amongst the crowd. Make it a game. I don't care.
Yeah.
Just do it. You're going to get killer ratings. You're trying to get into the pop media culture game. Yeah. Here's your in.
How about this? Make it so like not all the families like get along, right? Like, oh, you still owe me $10 from 1945. Koreans will hold on to that, man. Koreans will hold on to that.
But yo, you remember when I made you that kimchi and you said you liked it, but you didn't like it? I know you didn't like it.
Exactly.
Dig up all the dirt on my family members.
Like the Kardashians meme.
Oh, see, now that's it. Are you listening, North Korea? Are you listening to this with your espionage? Please hear it. This is a killer idea. It's a pitch. I'm giving it to you for free.
For free advice.
And this is the quadruple win. Yeah. Right? You're adding another win to those 3 wins.
Because of ratings.
People are gonna want your content now. Like this show, I would cry and laugh in this show. Yeah. It will be amazing.
Everything.
It'll be amazing. A
little bit of everything. Yeah.
Like it's like when those the actor and director got kidnapped. Like that's a crazy story. But imagine the situations you have, like the stories like that. They're everywhere up there. So
yeah, definitely.
KJU, I hope you're listening.
I hope so too, man.
All right, and I will continue to give you free. We will continue to give you free pitches and ideas. Call us anytime. Contact us, please.
Man.
Come on the show.
We're here for you.
Or don't come on the show. Skype us.
I would love to have 30 minutes with him to interview him.
Oh my gosh. That's another question for another show. KJU, Skype us at Demystified Zone. I don't know if that's our handle, but look it up. You'll find us. The mission of Crossing Borders is to show the compassion of Christ to North Korean refugees and their children. This mission depends on the generosity of people like you. If you'd like to make a real impact in the lives of North Korean refugees, please consider donating. It's super easy. Just go to our website at crossingbordersnk.org and click on the donate button in the upper right.